Welcome to Stand Up America, ladies and gentlemen. My name is David Frank, and hey, today we're going to talk about fixing our community, and by doing that, I believe that we can fix the country and, hey, hopefully the world. My co-host today is Jesse Davis, a great friend and activist and a person who really cares about this community. Jesse, thanks for being here with us.
Great to be here again, Dave.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, look, we're going to get right down to business. Our community is not working. I think if you're watching this program from around the country, you would probably be able to say the same thing about your community. And right now, America's not working. I think the thing that people have to realize is, and they're waking up to the fact that Washington, D.C. is not going to fix your community. And your state capital is not going to fix your community. Nobody cares more about your community than you do, and that's why it's so important that you have a voice in your community. You know, we live in the 21st century now. We don't live 235 years ago when this country started or when this governmental system started. We live in the 21st century, and we're surrounded with amazing communication technology. We live in a world where, you know, we have the food channel, the travel channel, the sports channel. We have all these different channels, but the problem is in our own communities, we don't have the most important channel. And the most important channel is the local issues television and radio channel. This is what we want to do in our community and hopefully communities around the country and around the world. We want to use public broadcasting to actually broadcast the public. We want your public broadcasting station to be your local issues television and radio channel so that you, the people, when you have ideas to make the education system better in your community, the environment better in your community, the tax system better, maybe a better healthcare system that is being presented to America right now, maybe a local community healthcare system. Ideas like that need to be talked about in our community. And what we need to do is start voting on these issues. You know, your vote is your voice, and if you really don't have a vote on the issues that affect your life, you really don't have a voice. So what we're proposing is using our public broadcasting station as our local issues television and radio channel so that you, the people, can start presenting your ideas to make your community better. And what we will do also, because of the fact that we live in the 21st century, we're voting on American Idol, we vote on CNN, we vote on Fox, we vote on Dancing with the Stars. We vote on all these other issues, all these other venues, but we aren't voting on the most important venues. And those venues are the taxes in your community, the education system in your community, the environment in your community, the things that make up your piece of America. So our goal is to let people watch issues over the local issues television and radio channel, and then you can vote with any touch-tone phone. Your call will go into a community computer that will contain your citizen participation identification number. The computer will verify you as a voter when you call to place your vote. It'll verify you with an ID number and a PIN number. It'll ask you what issue number you'd like to vote on. Press 1 for yes, 2 for no, count your vote, block you out from voting more than once, and we can now have decisions on a 21st century way of being of the people, by the people, and for the people. Jesse, what is your thinking on this?
Well, you know, right now we've got city councils, county councils, and, you know, they come up with plans and ideas. You know, we've got a lot of things going on local right now, such as two-way streets, you know, turning one-way streets back to two-way. And, you know, basically people can go to a meeting, and if you pack a room on a big issue like that, you might have 50 or 60 people there with a voice. Right. But those 50 or 60 are nothing compared to the numbers at 100,000 when you look at everyone in the community.
Right.
So some people can't get to the meeting, some people are working, you know, whatever the reason. So the voices are very limited. By doing things the way you're talking here with voting by phone, we could get voices of 100,000 people. So our council members at that point could actually say, hey, look, you know, we had, 99,000 people were for this, and we had 1,000 people that were against it.
Right.
And you've got some good firm numbers. It'll help them make more educated decisions and more decisions that are in fact for the people. And I mean, that's a big problem we have now. It will also promote accountability for their votes
Absolutely.
and transparency on the issues, which we have very little of right now.
Right. Well, that's what we want to use 21st century communication technology for, ladies and gentlemen. We want to use it to give you a voice. And, Jesse, let's take that issue that you were talking about. Right now, the mayor wants to spend $12 million to turn a one-way street into a two-way street that was a two-way street many years ago. Now, let's think about the figures on this, Jesse. $12 million, there's 100,000 people in the city of South Bend. That's $120 for every man, woman, and child in the city of South Bend.
Correct.
Family of 5, you're talking about $600, spending their money on this road project. Don't you think it would be more respectful to the people in our community to actually ask those people if they want to use their $600 of hard-earned tax money to fund this issue?
Oh, definitely, and that's exactly what the system would do, would allow people to see the issue that's out there, the plans that they have, and literally cast a vote and make their voice heard. I mean, you have to realize, it was a two-way street years ago, roughly 40 years or so ago.
Right.
Someone did a study, and I guess because of truck traffic or whatever reason, we need to change these streets to one-way. So they changed them to one-way. Here, a few decades down the road, somebody else does a study, and now all of a sudden, truck traffic's not going to be a problem anymore, but we need to change them back to two-way streets.
Right.
And at a huge cost, obviously.
Sure. And that's just one issue, and we're talking about $12 million. And there's so many other issues. We just gave $10 million to Kovaleski Stadium. That money should have gone to our kids' education system. It came out of the property taxes that went into the TIF fund that's been it's been used as a political slush fund in our community, financing bogus projects that I think if the people really had a voice and were able to vote on these issues, they would have said no. We'd rather have this money back in our pockets, providing what we as a people need to survive today.
Well, this would stop some of the political grandstanding that we see when we go to these council meetings, and you've been to several of them also, where there may be an issue that's a real hot topic, and you walk in and you almost can't find a seat because someone has packed the room
Right.
with people to come up and speak for a project.
Right.
And so they've packed the room with 30 or 40 people who are going to speak in favor of a project, and you may have 90,000 that are against it, but they can't even get in a room to speak. So this would be a nice tool to get some true, accurate numbers on how the people feel about the things going on in our community.
That's what's exciting about this project, Jesse, because, we live in South Bend, and South Bend was once known as like a vehicle capital of the country. We produced the Studebaker here, and it was a great vehicle. And, our community can now be a leader for not only the country but the world. We can build a new vehicle that can carry 267,000 voices on an issue without starting one single car. Correct. This is really an amazing project that I believe that the people in our community would really be behind. And the exciting thing about that too, Jesse, is that we now have people in leadership positions in our community that have taken the time to really understand this project and what it can mean for our community. And we've got people that are actually excited about promoting it in our community. We've had trouble in the past, as you know, because political leaders, once people get elected, and think of the position they're in. All of a sudden, like in our community, for example, they're spending about $280 million a year of somebody else's money. That's a lot of power, and it's a lot of ego. And to find people in leadership positions that won an election and are willing to say, you people trusted me when you voted for me and you gave me a voice, and now that I'm in office, I want to give you a voice and I want to support this project. So now we have political leaders in our community that are really excited about hearing the ideas that the people have in our community and empowering the people. I mean, I'm just really excited about this, Jesse.
Well, and I think the politicians, if we want to call them that, council members, whoever you want to classify, that are making these decisions need to realize that, number one, they are elected by the people,
Right.
and they're supposed to represent us and our voices. A lot of times we lack that, obviously, and I think they need to realize that this is not something that will take their job from them or eliminate, the
It will
need.
enhance their
It
job.
will enhance it.
It will empower them to
Correct.
really represent us the way we need to be represented. Because, Jesse, let's say I'm your attorney and you hire me to represent you. You can't represent me unless we or I can't represent you unless we communicate, can we?
Correct. And, in the long run, it will save them a lot of time and effort if they are, in fact, going out and talking to their constituents. They don't have to go door to door anymore to ask a question. It can be aired over the public access
Absolutely.
television, and people will vote, and they can look and see, hey, this percentage of people in the community do not want this project to go through. We've had numerous projects over the years that if this was in place,
Oh,
and they actually used this tool to listen to the people.
right.
I mean, think about it. Would we have a Kovaleski Stadium or a Football Hall of Fame that, disappeared? Now we've got a building that we still owe millions of dollars on that we're going to pretty much probably have to give away
Right.
to get somebody in there.
Well, these are bogus white elephant projects that they basically ram down our throats, and they take our tax money and they don't use it to benefit the people. They use it to benefit themselves and their cronies. And I think the question that people really need to start asking and trying to figure out your relationship with the people on your city council or your county council, those people aren't there to represent the people in Washington, D.C., and they really aren't there to represent the people in state capitals, such as Indianapolis, our state capital. They're really there to represent you, the people. And it's impossible for them to represent you, the people, if you don't communicate. And what we need to do in this community, and I hope everybody is excited about this and gets behind it, we need to put the technological tools in place that we've never had before so that you, the people, can really start communicating with your representatives so that they can finally really represent what we, the people, want. Jesse, one of the issues that comes up whenever I present this is the Constitution. And people say, well, that's not the way it was designed. Well, I've got to argue with those people. Because really, when you look at the Constitution, when you look at the United States Constitution, it was supposed to do two things. It was supposed to carry the voices of the people so that the direction of America could be decided of the people, by the people, and for the people. We the people, that's what it said, that's what it's supposed to do. That's exactly what this does. This gives our representatives the information that they need so that they know how we the people feel about the issues. And the other thing that it does is it was supposed to limit the power of the federal, state, and local government. That's exactly what this does. By giving the people in our community a real voice, all of a sudden you, the people, can decide what role you want your federal government to play in your life, what role you want the state government to play in your life, and what role you want the local government to play in your life. That's what communication can do, and we've never been asked before. I'm almost 65 now, Jesse. I've never had my opinion. I've never been asked my opinion on any issue. And the issues that I did try to impose my voice on, I lost.
And I think that's what most people would tell you if you spoke to them. I mean, I'm almost 50 years old.
Well, you're catching up with me, aren't you?
Been a lifelong resident of the area here, and I have to say, I read a lot of times where they say, we did studies or we did a poll about this, and whether it be state, federal, or local. And I think to myself, I've never gotten a call ever for one of these polls, and it's amazing that they miss you every single time,
But they sure knocked on your door when they were running for office. And they sure said that when they get into office, they're going to listen to you.
Oh,
They're not going to be
unbelievable.
like their opponent. When they get into office, they're going to listen to you.
Political mailers, man. I
Right,
said,
and it's one, it's
I can heat my house with them.
there you go. But ladies and gentlemen, let me take this one step further for you, because it's not only about fixing our community, it's about fixing the country. The politicians, they figured this out a long time ago. What they've been doing is something called gerrymandering. And for those of you who do not know what gerrymandering is, it's remapping their district so that they can get elected or reelected. So they've been remapping America to benefit themselves for a long time. The Postal Service figured it out with zip codes. They remapped America so that we could receive our mail in a more efficient way, so that they could be more organized. So they remapped America with zip codes. The phone company figured it out a long time ago too. They remapped America with area codes so that we could communicate better. What we have to do as a country is we have to figure it out too, and what we have to figure out is that we have to remap America also. It's now possible through satellite and computer technology to remap America so that it looks like a honeycomb. And if you ever look at God's creature that's most responsible for making the world a beautiful place, it's a honeybee. The honeybee stores the fruits of its labor in a honeycomb, and if you ever take a close look at a honeycomb, you'll notice that it's made up of hexagons. Our community will now look like a hexagon. The nucleus of our community will be a local issues television and radio channel, public broadcasting to actually broadcast the public, and a community computer that will have your citizen participation identification number, so that when these ideas come out from the public, what we're going to do is we're going to debate these ideas, because it's really important that before people vote on issues, that they're educated on these issues. So what we're going to have is a debate on these different issues. We're going to videotape the debate and present that to you, the community, over our public or our local issues television and radio channel. Any issue that you're interested in, and you won't be interested in all of them, but you may be interested in some of them. And any issue that you're interested in, you'll be able to pick up any touch-tone phone, call a local number. Your call will go into a community computer that will have your citizen participation identification number. It will ask you for your ID number and PIN number, ask you what issue number you want to vote on, press 1 for yes, 2 for no, count your vote, block you out from voting more than once. Every time the videotape of the debate is replayed over a 10-day period, there'll be an updated tally of the yeses and the nos, because your votes will be downloaded every day, and there'll be an updated tally of the yeses and the nos. And at the end of 10 days, not only will you, the community, understand these issues in their entirety, but the outcome will come from you. We will give that information to our local elected officials, and we will tell them to start making the changes in our community that we need made so that we can start rebuilding our community from the ground up. And what's exciting about this is when we find things that work in our community, we'll share that information with 999 other communities around the country. And when you find things that work in your community, you'll share it with us, and we'll start rebuilding America from the ground up. You know, Jesse, really when you look at our system, it's just a top-down system. It's a pyramid. It's a multi-level marketing pyramid scam. We send money to the people in Washington, we send money to the people in state capitals, we send money downtown, and we sit here as citizens who have paid the money waiting for it to come back, and it never comes back. It's very similar to organized crime, and I think what we, the people, need to do is get organized ourselves so that our voices can start deciding what kind of community we want for ourselves and our children.
It's really amazing, you look at history and let's say, for instance, the Boston Tea Party and, Civil War and things of that nature. People back then, they were upset over a 3 or 4 cent tax.
It was a 4 cent a pound tax on tea.
And look at what these people did by standing up together over this 4 cent tax. Look at what we get taxed today.
And what would our founding fathers say today if they were here?
They would probably call us chickens.
They would call us chickens.
I mean, and other countries, you see, uprisings everywhere. Look at Egypt right now.
Yeah.
Not that I agree with the way things are going. There's a lot of bloodshed. But you know what? These people are passionate, and when
Absolutely.
something's not right, they stand up and they want it changed. And you don't see that in America as much anymore. It's really tough to get the people together, whether it's fear or they just figure they're not being heard. So this is a nice tool to get people's voices out there on local issues, and like you say, hopefully on a nationwide basis at some point and worldwide.
Well, Jesse, it seems as though country by country, era by era, people, when they do stand up, they stand up violently.
Yes.
And once that violence starts, like it is in the Middle East, it's very hard to put that genie back in the bottle.
Correct.
And so that's why it's so important, ladies and gentlemen, that we do this in our own community. And what I'm trying to do is I want to get this information out to people in communities around the country and around the world so that you start to think about the fact that we aren't going to change America in Washington, D.C., and we aren't going to change it in state capitals. America has to be changed community by community from the ground up. If we want a solid foundation in our community has to have ideas that make sense and work for everyone. Not only the people, but the businesses. Because, Jesse, without those businesses, there aren't any jobs.
Correct.
And without any jobs, we got a lot of crime. And that's what's going on in our community now. But your ideas, ladies and gentlemen, can change the way things are done. I think if most people are honest in our community, they'll say that the political system really needs to be changed. It's not working for the community. I think they would admit that the judicial system, it's maybe working for the attorneys, but it's not working for the community. The penal system it's like a 21st century concentration camp, Jesse.
Yeah.
The school system should be better today than it's ever been. Our kids are smarter than they've ever been, and the school systems are worse than they've ever been. And that's why we need this system so that we can give our education system back to the parents and the teachers that actually built our education system. Remember the PTA?
Oh, yeah.
When the parents and the teachers used to come up with ideas to make their respective schools better. And they raised the issue, they debated it, voted on it, and implemented it. With this technology in place, Jesse, all of a sudden we can have a 21st century parent-teacher association working right in our own community where people don't even have to leave their homes. They can be part of the parents and the teachers working together by watching issues over the television that make our education system better. And then they can vote on these issues with any touch-tone phone. I don't think we can make it any easier for people, do you?
That's pretty simple.
It's pretty simple.
Pretty simple.
And we're really already doing it now. Aren't we watching American Idol and voting on it, or CNN, or even Survivor?
All kinds of reality shows.
WSBT they even ask some questions.
And people have to realize this has to start as a grassroots effort, Everything starts somewhere. So starting it in our community, we will be, basically you'll be heroes in South Bend if this takes off and works as it should.
Absolutely.
And I don't see why it wouldn't, because once it starts working here and it spreads and goes everywhere else, this is going to be huge.
Yeah, well, that's what we're counting on, because this is a great country and the people in it are great. And this can help not only everybody in America, but it can help people around the world. The reason, very simply, ladies and gentlemen, before we sign off here is, and this is no disrespect to the people that hold political positions, believe me, out of 267,000 people or brain cells in our community, we're using 9. And that is a brain-dead system. On a state level, out of 6 million brain cells, we're using 150 who don't even live in our community, so obviously they don't really care about our community. We're the people that care about it. And on a national level, out of 300 million people, we're using 535 brain cells. And it's a brain-dead system, and that's why education doesn't work. That's why the environment's falling apart. That's why people around the world don't like us. That's why nothing really works in our country anymore. That's why it's now time to put the necessary communication tools in place to give all of you people a voice. And once we do this in our community and we fire up 267,000 brain cells, You do this 1,000 times across America and you've got 300 million brain cells up and running, and all of a sudden we can start building the kind of country that we want for ourselves and our kids. Jesse, I just want to thank you for all the great work you do in this community, and thanks for the support on this project. I know that you believe in it, and I know you believe in the people having a voice.
Oh, I do, definitely. And like I say, there's been a lot of issues in the past that this would have been great for. So, you know, I say let's get this rolling, and hopefully we won't have no voice in the future.
There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for tuning in. I hope you tell your friends about this idea and get them involved. Dave Frank can't do it alone. Jesse can't do it alone. We can do it together, all of us. All we need is an idea that we can put together the voices in our community to make it work again. This is Dave Frank. Thanks so much for watching Stand Up America. Be well, and we'll see you next time. Take care.